I will tackle three topics today. The first one will be the impact of COVID-19 on creativity. Then I will move to the impact of COVID-19 on fashion shows and fashion weeks. And then we will speak about the impact of COVID-19 on retail and on e-commerce. The first two speakers already touched on it, but I will also add some thoughts. So first, let's start with the impact of COVID-19 on creativity. After the Great War, women embraced fashion with a boyish flair. I will try to show you on my screen. Here. Can you see now?
Yes, perfect.
So, as I said, after the Great War, women embraced fashion with a boyish flair, a look exemplified by Gabrielle Chanel as the global climate accelerated their liberation. After World War II, Dior invented the new look as a sexy, joyous answer to the liberation of Paris. Now, wars and pandemics are not the same, but they share the economic and the global scale. And we can expect in 2020 that this pandemic will have a big impact on the creativity of designers. I will show you also the this was what I mentioned about the new look invented by Dior as a sexy, glamorous answer to the liberation of Paris. Now, what can we expect from designers? How were they impacted from the pandemic? First, we can think that designers will have to bring to be very sensitive to the consumers. And they will have to bring value, such as protection, comfort, and cheerfulness. Protection will be key, whether it's by incorporating a mask or gloves into the silhouette, or by developing new antibacterial fabrics. That's one trend that we might well see. But also, in the face of such a mental and economic austerity, designers might want to bring escape and dream. So I will show you two examples of these two directions that designers might take. This is the latest Chanel cruise show that was shown digitally on Monday. So this is clearly, okay, the theme of the show originally was Capri, because it was supposed to be staged in Capri. It didn't happen. It was a digital show, but still it shows the escape and the dream side. Now, some other designers that could reinforce their engagement, their original engagement. For example, Marine Serre, who has always been involved into climate change, has incorporated masks for the last 3 seasons into her silhouettes. So this is from her previous collections that was shown in February, before the lockdown and before the pandemic. So we can assume that these kinds of designers who had engagements initially, it will only reinforce their engagement. I'm not familiar enough with the Latvian designer. I know some of them from covering the, I'll stop sharing, from covering the Year Festival in the south of France. And last year edition, there was this Latvian designer called Dita Enikova. She has also a strong viewpoint, and we can assume that she will reinforce her viewpoint. Then we will switch to the future of fashion shows and fashion weeks. It has been the big topic. It has kept me very busy in terms of assignment of stories lately. The industry has been questioning the relevance of fashion weeks for quite some time. due to the number of shows, the multiplication of shows, the saturated schedule, and sometimes it didn't make sense to have so many cities, so many fashion weeks. Just in Paris, you have 2 couture weeks, you have 2 men's week and 2 women's week. So it's a lot for the buyers to go everywhere. And it's not one of the criticism was the sustainability front. But despite existential questioning about Fashion Week, competitors like say in Paris, the big houses, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and Hermes, they've come together because in a unified event for the purpose of the industry, because the benefit for the whole industry was larger than the issues that it created. I saw that Riga Fashion Week will take place in October. That sounds great. I don't know if it will be a digital event, but in Paris, the fashion governing body, the French Federation, said that the upcoming men's shows that were supposed to take place in a week from now in Paris, it will be a digital fashion week in July, and same for the couture shows. So it will be digital only, and that's a big challenge for the house, also because they've been very busy with all the logistics during the lockdown. So they will need to come up with some great idea in terms of digital. Technology has been tried in the past. Back in 1998, Helmut Lang created, showed his collection via CD-ROM. Do you remember CD-ROM? Well, that was on CD-ROM. And then in 2013, Diane von Furstenberg teamed up with Google Glass, where models were wearing the Google Glass on the catwalk, and there were all kinds of features with Google Glass. In a few years later, Christopher Rayburn presented a 3D film to show his collection. And oh yeah, and I forgot that one. In 2017, Dior showed a collection in Shanghai. It was with holograms, so it was a holographic show. So houses have used VR, AR, green screen, and other tricks to incorporate technologies into their shows. And more recently, by the way, during the lockdown, I don't know if you saw that show that Karin Rothfeld staged with Amphor. So models were basically walking the catwalk in their so-called catwalk in their apartments. And the most recent example is Chanel showing its digitally its cruise collection on Monday. Then, while technology has been used, it has never fully taken off. Unlike in advertising or in films, maybe it's also because it's a big investment for a 20-minute show. So while it's in an investment, the necessity is the mother of invention. And as we will, as this Fashion Week will be fully digital, we can expect a lot of innovations in the near future. So it's very exciting. Be prepared for VR, AR, hologram, avatars as models. But will it replace the emotion of a live show? That's the question. Hopefully. And also, as fashion houses will become broadcasters, they need to be very careful with the airing time and with the diversity of the content. Regarding Chanel, again, this digital show on Monday, it was aired at noon Paris time on Monday. And I read some criticisms about not being the perfect time for the East Coast or West Coast in the US, and also not being the perfect timing because a cruise show that is all about dream and escape in this context, there were some articles saying that it wasn't very sensitive to the consumers. Now, it's on the other hand, it offers, as I said, dream and escape, and that's what we may need right now. For September's, options include smaller shows. So it could be also presentations where brands receive guests 10 by 10. That would be safe. That would be good. The format of smaller shows is much more appropriate to our times than blockbuster shows that we have seen in the past. So what we may see is a return of very exclusive fashion shows, like in the era of Mr. Dior or Mr. Saint Laurent, and houses might show their collection in their salons. Of course, there will be hybrid formats with a digital component as well. So if it's safe for everyone, I think that's what most of the houses will choose for September, a very small event, physical event, with a big digital amplification. But again, that's fingers crossed there's no second wave happening. And also there's a case of, I need to mention, of Saint Laurent and Kering and a few other houses that decided not to show in September, to skip September and to give themselves the freedom of showing outside the official calendar. So some houses will be missing in the official calendar, but it seems that so far Dior is committed. Some houses are very committed to the official calendar, so we'll see what's going on. Then one last note. Sorry, I was about to say, as someone in the industry told me, fashion shows won't die. They won't go anywhere. If no one is saying that theater will die, it might take some time to return, but it won't die. Or football games, soccer games, we will always go back to watch soccer games. So hopefully it's the same for fashion shows. On the other hand, it's exciting for designers because it opens new areas of opportunities of expressing their creativity digitally. Now we will move to the future of retail. Sorry, I will drink some water. So the future of retail. Stores reopened in Paris on May 11. So of course, I pitched a story to my editors in London because stores were still closed in London. And I said, I will do a report from the ground. I will go to the stores and I will see how the mood is or what are the sanitary measures. So I was first surprised because I went to the Champs-Élysées. The Champs-Élysées was devoid of tourists, of course, so it was quite empty, to be honest. And I went to the Louis Vuitton flagship on the Champs-Élysées. And you have a sales assistant. I will show you, first of all. Sorry, that was the look from Marine Serre when I said that she used masks in the past. So when I arrived at the Louis Vuitton store on the Champs-Élysées, can you see the share screen or no? I will show you in a second. Can you see now? So they use this signage on the floor to respect social distancing. And I thought it was quite smart to make it a bit more personal and for brands to reaffirm their identities, even though they all have to put signage for social distancing. So anyway, I went to the Louis Vuitton stores and you have one salesperson escorting you the entire journey into the store. You cannot touch the product. The salesperson grabs the product for you. And then I don't know what the sanitary measures are in Riga, but in Paris, when you try a clothes on, they have to put it for 24 hours in quarantine. So they are being very, you can try them on, but you won't try on the entire collection, right? And it came, while it was a nice experience, I saw it came at the expense of the freedom of exploring the store, which is it's part of the shopping experience, right? It's part of the pleasure of shopping. So what I saw is there's a contradiction, an inherent contradiction between safety and the pleasure of shopping. So what can brands do? They, because you cannot, for example, the mask is obligatory for everyone, for the salesperson and the guest. So you cannot see the smile. So there's the smile part. You cannot get a VIP treatment with a cup of coffee or a glass of champagne. So brands need to find alternatives to the little things that make the luxury experience so special. So what can they do? One thing I noticed, for example, at Gucci, there was a very long line. They explained to me, I'll show you the Gucci store in a second, the day I went. So it was the day of the reopening on May 11. Share. So that was the line. I waited for about 30 minutes in the line and I got bored. They told me that they allow only 27 persons at the same time. So the line was quite long and I was thinking, what could I do? And actually, as a journalist, I took advantage to interview some people in the line. But if I were not interviewing these customers, what would I have done? And I spoke with some retail experts, and they said one thing they can do is to allow the customers to download an app to browse the store before they enter the store. That could be a smart thing to do so that they know exactly where to go, because people tend to spend less time in the store. So it would be a bit more dwell time in the store. They said, this retail analyst I spoke with, his name is Doug Stephens, and is the retail prophet. Anyway, he said that there's a whole area of innovation in inline entertainment. I think it could be very smart. He said, brands need to look at Disney. Disneyland is so good at entertaining people in lines. I haven't been to Disneyland in a while, so I don't know what they do to entertain people, but I think brands can be innovative. Then there's, I went to the Galerie Lafayette Champs-Élysées, and Galerie Lafayette Champs-Élysées has several restaurants that are very cool and very nice, but they were closed because per governmental measures, restaurants are still closed in France. Now they're allowed to open terraces, but restaurants are closed. So when I walked by the restaurants, I saw, this is sad to see these restaurants that are usually so packed, to see them closed. And I saw, because the customers are missing the sensory experience of restaurants, of good food, there need to be something else to offset that. Maybe some flowers for the visual aspects, some scents for smell, or music. I don't know, but it felt sad. Then one thing I wanted to say as well. Sorry, I take my notes. Yes, I think what is very smart for brands is also they already do it at Dior, they do it very often, but it's to make appointments with the clients so that it's completely safe for the customers and they can still treat them with a VIP experience. Then the people walk away being happy about their experience And from a brand point of view, it's much more lucrative because they target the right client. So that's a few things that they could do. And also to increase synergies with online, that's very important. Because as I said, customers will spend less time in the shops. So the key is to increase digital capabilities and move the customer to a digital relationship. Because this way they can possibly make appointments, they can click and collect, they can download the app. This retail analyst I really like, the retail prophet, he said physical stores are no longer a distribution channel, but an experiential media to design for customers acquisition. So that's the way to see physical retail right now. And then we will move to e-commerce specifically. So I spoke with LVMH and Kering about this topic, and they both said, no one could have imagined one day that our entire store network would be closed, and that e-commerce would become our main or only sales channel. So it's not that they weren't giving the priority to e-commerce in the past, but they realized how much they had to innovate and to accelerate and to focus on e-commerce in the light of the pandemic. I have this figure. E-commerce represented 10% of luxury sales in 2019. So 10% it includes the retail part, so the own websites of the brand, plus the wholesale part. It was 12% in 2019. It's expected to reach 15 to 17% by the end of the year due to the pandemic. That's a very fast acceleration. And according to Bain, e-commerce will make up 30% of the luxury sales by 2025. So this is to show how important it is. And I have another figure. The figure is about China. Chinese consumers are expected to represent 50% of the luxury purchases by 2025. So e-commerce, and especially e-commerce in China, is very important for the brands. To win, brands will have to figure out a way to make the luxury experience online, to make the online experience an outstanding one, completely different from any other e-tailers. It's not all about fancy features, about VR, AR, it's not about that. When I spoke to the CDO of LVMH, Ian Rogers, he said about the pandemic, he said, a lot of the hard work in this has been very simple. My fulfillment center is not open. How do I ship to my fulfillment center? How do I keep the fulfillment center safe? This is not about virtual reality or augmented reality. It's about practical things. Stay humble, prioritize, get the job done. That's the reality of e-commerce. And the CDO of Kering, when I asked him which industry inspires him for e-commerce, he replied, I'm very impressed by what Amazon does on the logistic fronts, going beyond client expectations in terms of cost and speed of shipping and the ease of return. So that's the logistic parts, but still brands need to carve out their own experience to make it and to make radical investments in it, to make a destination online. People want a walkthrough of the store. I'm gonna show you, Gucci recently launched a feature on its website, on its e-commerce website. It's called Gucci Live, and that's it. So the sales associate gives you a tour of the store. That's what customers want. They want to receive their products in a luxury way at home. They want to be able to do curbside pickup, and brands have already released some virtual features and virtual try-on. LVMH did it with sunglasses, shoes, and beauty. Of course, beauty is a pioneer in terms of virtual try-on, and the other industries, the other categories of luxury are looking at beauty for it. I will show you an example of virtual try-ons. Gucci did it with its Ace sneakers as well, so you can try it online. This is it. I couldn't help testing it myself. This is the Celine virtual try-on for sunglasses. Brands have also worked on digital showrooms for buyers because they know that buyers won't be able to travel anytime soon. So they've worked on very sophisticated showrooms for buyers. And of course, as I mentioned, they're working on digital fashion shows now. And we can imagine that these virtual fashion shows could include an e-commerce component. That's very well possible. Now, I think you will be able to ask questions later on during the discussion. Thank you for listening. The main thing I want you to remember is that this crisis has accelerated trends that we've been seeing before the pandemic, but it has accelerated in such fast way, in such a dramatic way, that brands need to reshift their strategies. So the trends that I mentioned are in terms of creativity. We saw designers before the pandemic with real engagement on what's going on in the world. I gave the example of Marine Serre and her breathing mask to show how climate change is violent. So this will reinforce the way designers are thinking about their raison d'être. The second point was it will reinforce the questioning about how the industry functions with fashion weeks, with fashion shows. We also will see tighter, sharper collections. From a practical standpoint, designers couldn't make very big collections during the lockdown. They still managed to be very creative, but they also think it makes more sense to make sharper collections. From third, this crisis will change the retail and how brands need to think about their physical stores and increase online synergies and make their e-commerce a priority and make their e-commerce a destination online. Now, I just want to say that this crisis will reinforce the importance of the local markets. As Bain, the consulting firm, doesn't expect traveling to return to its normal level until summer 2021. So brands really need to serve the customers where they are, wherever they are. And that includes in Latvia, and I think that's a great thing, that local markets will be given more importance. Thank you very much, and see you later.